Lawrence, Kansas, and they bring writers through, and they would just move through Kansas City and read in Lawrence, and then go on to Denver or something like that. So I figured it was a common sense responsibility to have a reading series here in Kansas City, and my intention is to pair mid-career writers, writers who've been publishing for years with creative writing majors or local writers, so we can find some type of cross-pollination. So thank you for coming. If you want to know more about Common Sense, just look us up on Facebook, or it's just a Common Sense reading series. You can do a Google search and you can find the webpage. So our first reader tonight is Brian Clifton. He lives in Kansas City with his two pets, a pig named H1N1, Hinny, and a cat named Tippy. He co-edits the literary magazine Bear Review, which just came out. You should really check out Bear Review. It's online. You can read it that way. His accomplishments include taking selfies on Matthias Salvini's iPad, having his thesis via be the Wikipedia summary of the 1995 film adaptation of Congo, and being published in Pank, Jute, Booth, and other magazines. Please welcome Brian Clifton.
Hi everyone. Apocalypse with chainsaw. Let your chainsaw devour the heart of the oak. Despite the rot that fuses its earliest concentric years, the oak will burn, or it won't. It might barely smoke. If that is the case, then let your chainsaw remove the limbs that still have leaves. Would you not miss the costume changes? In some other language, nature means rotting insides. Let your chainsaw not mince what sheds blood instead of sap, or do. Some things need a phantom. So, this is like one of my favorite things in Kansas City. I've discovered a lot of writers that I like through this reading series. So thanks, Jordan, for setting this up, and thanks you guys for being here. I read this poem in a class, and when I finished, there was like an audible sigh. Like people were so disgusted with me. So I thought I would read it. So, in death we line up for kisses. All my friends died in January. Each year in their tiny flats, they tell me death saves them so much on groceries, insurance, lavish, endless keggers. In life, none of my friends were juggalos. In death, everyone has sprung for black and white clown makeup. They wear jumpsuits of woven Faygo labels. When one chants family, the others respond whoop. Great Faygo showers them. When I speak, diet red Faygo seeps from their eyes. They hush me and lean Nosferatu out of their bedroom. Nosferatu is more than a vampire, they say. Nosferatu is our last boyfriend. Nosferatu stands like a plank leaned against a wooden fence. This feeling governs his life. It tells him he can kiss one of my friends before bedtime, and they line up in single file. Nocturne in blue and amber. Bending off a side street, we sucked down our parents' old crow. Its luster grew in the mason jars of our esophagi. That summer, we kept our animals in red wax-sealed bottles, and I played dead in the corners of the swimming pool. It was the year we would fill it in with concrete. The year I fished a possum from the filter. Its fur peeled off in hunks and hot-wired the amnesia clawing out of our necks. So this is a newer poem. I have a lot of poems about friends in this series, and it all makes like being my friend sound really dramatic, but it isn't. I have some friends in the audience, and they might be able to say this or not. So, apocalypse with recurring dream. All of my friends take off my clothes. I take off theirs, then we get in each other's pants, swallow us. We use each other's belts to cinch the waist shut and open our eyes to the cloth black we can almost see through. Of course, I only talk about myself. My friends are all failures, and they know it. The house's kitchen will billow smoke. We forgot about the dinner, and now we're all cinched in each other's pants. I want to watch them open their mouths until their teeth float out and their gums fill with light. All of my friends take off in a Jeep. I take off my clothes. I always take off my clothes like a child riding her bike up and down her driveway. It's clear none of my friends have eyes. Their black sockets billow smoke. They ask me to tell them what's on TV, but I don't have any eyes either. I'm just like everything is off. The TV, the record player, the lights. We sit for a long time doodling with Sharpies and pretend I said the game. I try to take off on my bike, but the frame collapses and I begin to fall, although I never hit the pavement. My clothes scatter in the wind that blows down the street or stays stationary as I blow it. My friends suck, they're waist thin, they're all failures, and I know it will be a long time before I hit the pavement, so I get used to hovering naked for them to gawk at. They laugh until their teeth fall out. They use their teeth to weigh me down and to bury me. It's a game, and it blows. I take off all of my friends' eyes with my teeth. For a long time, we wait for dinner to mold over. Light slices its way up the wall. It begs my friends to open their sockets for it to spit in. My friends lie down. Their eyelids widen as I trace them with a Sharpie that's about to dry up. Yeah, so that's all true. Apocalypse with open throat. I imagine all the stones I've forgotten I'd thrown, lining the bottom of the Missouri like scales, tiny convex mirrors, or stars after 8 billion churning years, that haven't hit my retinas because Omaha swills its amber light down its dark-throated sky. The night I turned 20 on the library's floor, I couldn't move, transfixed by the soft, unfluttering light in the corners of my corneas. Who is like the Lord? The swallower of 100 river snakes is like the Lord. She wades into the Missouri. Her feet sweep everything into another identical bed. When she snags a snake, she opens and tunes her throat to the night's thickened frequency. So that's sort of a birthday poem. It was my girlfriend's birthday the other day, so I thought I'd read that. Symphony and Masks. The spring the night inhabited my older brother's high school body, I wanted nothing more than to drive our 8-ounce claw hammer through my closet and his room's sidewall, to taste what made his body climb and jump our stone retaining wall like a napkin crawling the air currents. He rustled all night, dark blur against dark, until he came down and sat in the yard, naked under his beat-up wolf mask, the one with fur that trailed down his back, and vomited while Dawn vomited her slick light. This one's called Guzzle for an Indecisive Mood. It's not really a guzzle, it's just really long couplets, because you can hear that. The names I used to answer to became singing hammers. They sing to loosen their heads or to pound their nails flush. My nails sew themselves into my face. I licked ash off my palms. I was neither here nor not here. Vit gadal, vit kadesh. I have prayed for a sort of forgetfulness, the kind that is at night, an amorphous shadow at the foot of a bed, by daybreak a chair. The moon that beats inside my lungs has sunk behind the cloud's paper gowns, arteries of light from a shattered CD. The fog troubles me. Its molecules fling droplets of gin across the street and take the heads off commercial buildings. When I swallowed a photograph, its silver iodide bloated my lips. The waning moon angled its delight into a clean black spot. Like teeth lost in dirty bathwater, the stars crowded the drain. Someday, I promise, I will laugh about this only to myself. It's called Apocalypse with Home Burials. I read two kinds of poems, or two different sets of poems. The ones with Apocalypse with are sort of the newer ones, and they're all about how things come to an end. So this one's called Apocalypse with Home Burials. I pet my cat, and cat dander gets under my nails. In the other room, my son and his brother walk across each other's backs. Their tiny bones realign, then misalign. They say, inhale, now, exhale, and my cat purrs. It's cathartic to feel your insides shift under another. My husband in the other room digs a hole in the letterbox he has trained himself to use. I too have done this in the backyard, dug a hole to drop the dead in. Turtles, salamanders, ducklings, 2 parakeets, a guinea pig, a terrier. My son shouts, jump, and there is a snap. My cat hustles from my arm, leaving a scratch. Her fur follows another slow path to the floor. So, I have a few more poems. Thank you guys again, and thanks, Jordan, for having me. Thanks, Ken and Christopher, also reading. This one's called Nocturne with Munitions Plant. At 17, I learned to break myself open, to strip all the hex head bolts of the engine in my throat. It was fall. My mouth loved to lip that painless barn window called memory. Scores of bullets murmured through the night-covered hills. My father always hid under card tables during the 4th. He eked out a living, churning chemicals and casings. His machine rattled with the insistence of a draft beating an apartment's door against its jamb. I listened. His stories flew through our house all at once in the backfires of his sleeping mouth. This next poem I wrote after I watched the movie Enemy, which is really good, and I suggest it to everyone, which is written, or was made after the Jose Saramago novel, The Double, or The Duplicated Man. So it's a poem written about a movie, written about a book, I guess. So Apocalypse with Double, after Enemy. Spiders hunch into the corners of 2 bedrooms. Bedrooms too curl into themselves like segmented worms. Not long ago, an old man mistook me for Dolores, his dead wife. So much like her, he said, the old grave palpable in his mouth. At the heart of every city, a basement, a silver platter, a tarantula at the bare, open vulva in this basement. Another woman in heels to pierce its exoskeletal carapace. Shelled in shadow, my fiancé dangles there. In his hand, a ring of keys. At this moment, there is no way to know when he will die. He will die, I know, in a crash. Pinging from the Jersey walls, his sedan will cave in like a mother for her baby spiders, who will, one day, build webs across windows and catch nothing. Between that day and now, he will tell me about the woman who confused him for her tenant. So, some of you might know, I just moved out of my apartment because I found bed bugs in my apartment. I didn't want to deal with that anymore. So, this one's called Apocalypse with Bed Bugs, because there's actually this really weird psychological thing, like when you have bed bugs, you get really obsessed with them. And I found myself like at every moment just like looking up little facts about bed bugs, and there are some weird things that they do. So, anywho. The bed bugs tell me when I can bleed and when I can't. Find a polyethylene bag to bury my mattress in. The bed bugs molt and take and molt again. Soon their saber-like dicks emerge. I watch my mattress wildly lurch into the street. Its seams split and outpour the desiccated bodies of my friends. Their red, brown, and translucent husks. Some small enough to swallow, some big enough to crush. This is my last poem I'm going to read. Thank you guys again for having me, I guess. Like I said at the very beginning, this is one of my favorite things in Kansas City. And I saw Roger Reeves here a few months ago? Yeah. And he said poets should try to write a poem with their name in it. So I tried doing that, and this is what came out. It's called Apocalypse with Victrola. Someday Brian Clifton will be honest, but for now, the Victrola in the cellar will have to do. Crank the winding key. I don't own any records, no 45s, so the green felt will spin into green felt. I can't make this up. Lift its iron needle arm, judge its barbaric weight. I say this only to you, and you listen. In time, all things must become dull. Drop the needle on the felt. The static electricity will light up the entire cellar for a moment. The corners will sing their corner song and dissipate. Yes, all the honest things will dull in time. Thank you, guys.
Our next reader is Crista Siglin. Crista is from Greenfield, Iowa. She's currently a senior at the Kansas City Art Institute and is studying painting and creative writing. Her work is an investigation of the roads to and from the uncanny valley. Please welcome Crista Siglin.
Hi, and this is really exciting. I too adore this series, and so thank you, Jordan, for having me. And I also apologize because some of you have heard some of these already, but I've been editing and practicing, so hopefully it's still worth it. Revolutions around a mad woman. She frequently touches new things that were made to look old, namely a silver necklace resting on the shelf in the bathroom. She kisses between the eyebrows a child woman-child, sitting on the sink with bleeding toes. Recall the old gestures. Keep a lock of hair, keep many locks of hair, weave them into a wreath for the mantle. Arrange the furniture over and over, sit on again and again, arrange the furniture over and over. Then the new gestures. Put a glass case around a wreath. Place a velvet rope before a room in the doorway. Make a convincing observation. The creek bed has pubic hair. We were born there. She looks up, he looks to the other side. When we left, you had dirt in the cut on the ball of your foot. You went to bed after rain mixed itself with the wine in our glasses, and I became certain that it was burning, holy water. The stuff that touched the lips of every madwoman you sent to the attic, that raw room with one light bulb and floorboards unashamed of their in-between. Those women were barefoot, their mouths kept to the same roundness, a cat's pupils in the dead of night. The closest thing to being back in the womb is our clean bodies pressed between freshly washed sheets. Much like a gnat flattened near the spine of a book that can now be read with the text as a new heavenly body, with the same attitude as tea leaves in the transition of an afternoon conversation. After you fell asleep in your cleanness, the madwoman in the attic heard your shoes scraping beneath your bed and revolutions around your body. As moths, we tested our bodies against the heated tubes of the neon beer sign in the corner of the bar above the jukebox that two large, bald men holding hands were standing next to. The men were shouting. One about kumquats and broken glass, the other about bathroom stalls. I smiled at them as we scorched our skin in the same place over and over. They stopped shouting. They whispered to me. It would be morning soon. She watched you hide cigarette butts in the flower bed and eat the potato skins she had left for compost. She set fire to the garden and invited it to remember itself later next year. The birds saw me sit there at the cafe table when it had just become light outside before she had a chance to arrive. They were demanding breadcrumbs. Breadcrumbs from the heels of her loaves, which I would never keep. Their small heads were quick and erect, oscillating the way that the skittish childwoman keeps her head on the bus to avoid glances from eyes and objects. The madwoman found me and shooed me from the birds so that they would not get the wrong impression. Gathering seeds. An old woman places boots on the tips of thin poles in the garden, their openings face downward to the dirt. The church on the street corner marks the end of the world. The street it is on doesn't continue past the limit of one's own vision. As we pick off ailments from one another's skin, those pink scallops clinging just below our ears. We speak of brown, aged plastic. The covering of a horse on springs has turned swayed by increments of thighs in time, he said to me, as you rolled the skin you removed from the corner of my cheek between your fingers. A man returns home from a 3-year trip to the grocery store and finds an armchair, sleek, blocking and facing the front entrance to his house. He moves slowly around it, holds himself up in the doorway. After keeping her head in the closet for some indeterminable amount of time, a woman stands up. She tries to leave the house, but stumbles into being a chair. Strands of her hair fall between her legs. They become small objects that cling to the feet of strangers. This pleases her. In the front yard, an old man has recovered a young man while trying to bury scissors 8 inches beneath the soil. He sets off fireworks as warning shots, noting the arrival of a young man. His wife picks out her scabs and recovers feathered skin beneath them in response. An acquaintance. We saw the outline of a bull in the twilight, and it saw our faces. We saw its features, filled its profile with cow eyes. In the windowsill, a framed pastoral scene bobs in an aquarium. The imaginary people in the cottage's windows could stare at the place slightly above a person's neck. You used to be capable of saving a horse from human teeth. Although we were hungry, you let it drown. One should only marry the beasts of myths, those holographic-eyed ones that stall standing a hair's width away from the red siding of your house and can only be sighted if their name has been spoken. A marriage of this sort makes a monkey of a man and a catfish of a girl. After this, there is no change. A red house becomes haunted when slowly painted gray, one light on, watching the other. As we view a union of sacred monsters, we think it might be easier to collect small tins with thinly painted prayers on one side, although they did little for the dying woman who rests her head on a pillow with embroidery shaped in a language you do not understand. Wake up, heart, sleep. It might be nice to line the corners of the bedroom with something we didn't make. We have filled our pores from the inside. If these cells do not die, soon we will be too large for one another. When I dream of the moment you no longer speak to me, you are a dead hummingbird in my hand. If I told you of this, you would have us perform a superstitious exercise. We would shift the circumference of candles around us, in and out, to see how far we can keep the ghosts from us and still hear their voices. We forbid each other from saying words like machinery, because they remind us that our teeth will rot, and that is the only way that they will be able to identify us years from now. In the time after, you wanted to observe every bird in North America, but did not want to know any name that they had already been given. When we saw a moth, you called it a bird. I once had the shape of a bird's body too, and a rapidly paced circulatory system, but the things that were feathers are the color of ashes, and they are the calluses on my feet. Materials for birth. We still behave as though we were born by breaking loose from the head of a titan. If we see something burning, we are responsible for telling someone or suffocating it, so we are careful to only look at the whites of each other's eyes. You speak to me with the urgency of a child, misplaced in the supermarket, but never raise your voice any louder than an infant's breath when sleeping. It is not our interiors that make us become our mothers and fathers. It is the moment we know that they will die and they've begun to. We become them by starting with their extremities, a hand creased by habit and legs traced with blue. The sounds of their largeness come next, and this is only remembered from the time we first learned to crane our necks upward. We find that white is only a color when it is dirty. In our central room, we keep a glass shelf stocked with painted porcelain, small pastel boys and lambs, and girls who are unpainted except for their lips, which are faintly pink. They are situated closely together, but with their backs turned from one another's faces. Every time I see a glass shelf, there must be porcelain. As my eyes place porcelain on the glass, I think it's starting to look like an actual place. If we should ever fall asleep under a tree in the cemetery, it will be near a family plot. We will wake up and make love. Berries will fall from the trees, and we will move with them. Our skin will become brilliant orange after they burst beneath us, but will turn to the tone of nearly dried blood. Thank you.
Thank you, Ryan. That's great. Really stunning. Our final reader this evening is Kit Robinson. He's the author of Determination, which came out with Cuneiform in 2010, The Messianic Trees, Selected Poems, 1976 to 2003, and 20 other books of poetry. He has written 2 books in collaboration with Ted Greenwald, A Mammal of Style and Takeaway, and is a co-author of the Grand Piano and Experiment Collective autobiography, San Francisco 1975 to 80. A real dynamic collection of writers and really cute, astute thinkers. Robinson lives in the Bay Area and works as a freelance writer and plays the tres guitar in the Afro-Cuban dance band Bahia Sun. Please welcome Kit Robinson.